Today we're sitting down with Star Trek Picard actress Ayushi Chhabra to talk about her character of Pells, as well as her time on the set of Star Trek Picard Season 1. Enjoy this conversation as we find out some great details about what it's like working with stars such as Michelle Hurd and legendary Trek director Jonathan Frakes. Many thanks to Ayushi for taking the time to sit down with myself on Trek Central. Just a heads up, sadly our video call is a little bit disrupted, so you may notice a tiny bit of lag here and now. Still, this is a great conversation and I do hope you enjoy. So, my question number one for yourself is, could we have a bit of an introduction to yourself, but also the character of Pells who you played in Star Trek Picard? So, why don't we start with yourself?
Sure. My name is Ayushi Chhabra. I grew up in South Africa. I was born in India. I've been living in Los Angeles for the past 5 years, and Pells was my very first co-star in American television. And Pells, I think, in Star Trek was just she moving the story along of Raffi. It was just she played such a compelling part of moving the story of Raffi along in terms of Raffi had such a tragic backstory. And I think that it just introduced such a beautiful human element to Star Trek Picard. And Pells plays the role of a pregnant Romulan who's the wife of Gabriel Wong, and we are Raffi's backstory. So when we're introduced in the story, I think it brings such a human element to Raffi's already tragic backstory. And Pells is about to have a baby, and it's a daughter, and I hope that we get to see her.
Oh yeah, season 2.
Season 2.
That's fantastic to hear. I think a lot of people were surprised, seeing you mention there, because did you know the character of Gabriel Wong was mentioned in one of the books? I think it was The Last Best Hope.
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know.
He was mentioned. The book was set before Picard did his mission. So it's set I think it's 10 years. Someone will probably correct me in the comments. I hope so. It was set X amount of years before the show, and they actually mentioned Raffi's son in there. So it's interesting. He got a bit of a backstory as well. So I'd love to see some sort of continuation of family life in season 2 or something like that. So I think it's important to Raffi as a character.
I think so too, and I think it would be nice to see a reconciliation happen between Raffi and her family. I think that she does deserve some sort of redemption. I think she does deserve some sort of redemption. I think it would be really nice to see her reunite with her family and to continue that human element that Picard, has had in this season. So I really hope that, that return does happen and that she's able to, progress with, that she's able to continue some sort of reconciliation.
Definitely. So my ultimate question here is, I'm sure many of Trekkies are dying to know, what is it like being on the set of Star Trek Picard? Because this was a grand production. I'm sure being on there is like a different world.
Absolutely. I think Picard is one of the most extravagant experiences I've ever had in terms of, the first things first is just the prosthetics. It took about 4 hours to get into prosthetics makeup. It was just being introduced to a whole new world, from brows to ears to getting the right forehead and the wig. It just was such an elaborate process. And at first it just felt so new to me and strange, but I was also scared, intimidated by the process. But to know that you're in such good hands, these people know what they're doing, like the costumes department, I really have to give them the hair and makeup. You really feel so safe in their hands because they just know exactly what to do. I was sitting in prosthetics for about 14 hours waiting for, my time to go on set. But honestly, it was really nice to work with, professionals like Michelle Hurd, who just really told me how to be, she was like, if you need anything, just let people know. I think it was just such a diverse set, also just a room full of wonderful people that just really wanted to help each other out. And it was really nice to work with Jonathan Frakes too. I just thought that was a dream come true to be able to see someone on TV for so long and then to actually be directed by them. And the fact that he held my hand and he was like, great job. And I was like, I don't have this is it. My life is complete. So
that's definitely one for the bucket list.
Phenomenal experience.
I totally forgot that Jonathan Frakes did direct episode 5 as well. And I remember the set pictures. I think using one of the set pictures as well ended up on StarTrek.com, which was showing all the characters together with Jonathan, setting there, and Sir Patrick, and it was just a fantastic. You can really tell there's a great sense of family on the set of Star Trek Picard.
I think there is such a great sense of family just with the Star Trek community in general. Just like even when I reached out to you, or the other Star Trek, the people that I've been, the fans and followers of Star Trek that I've been now getting connected with, I just have to say that it's such a beautiful community of people that really want to support each other. And I love that there's a show like this that has been on the air for so long that really brings people together, and you really see that those themes reflected in all of everything that they do.
For sure. This kind of answers my next question anyway. I was just going to say, how do you feel about being a part of the Star Trek family? I guess we've kind of answered that, but any more thoughts on it?
To have it's just such a sense of camaraderie and a sense of belonging. It just really feels nice to be part of something that is so grand and that really reflects on so many different themes that are currently, like, I think all of the Star Trek series have reflected on so many themes that are, so prevalent in our current world, like, fighting for equality and questioning authority and all of that. Everything that we're seeing right now around us is so prevalent in the Star Trek series.
I can definitely agree with that one. So we only saw your character of Pell for a short time on screen. I think you sort of answered this earlier, but do you know much about her backstory or more about her character herself, or was she just given the basic premise to go off of?
I do not have much information on her backstory. However, I do know that she plays such an important part in Michelle's story, because Michelle has Michelle has an expertise of Romulans. And I think that, Pell being a part of the story really, Michelle didn't even know that Pell was, Michelle didn't even know that Pell was Gabriel's wife and that they were about to have a daughter. And I think that, for as far as I know, that's the purpose that she's serving in the story, is to bring that breath of fresh air, to bring that human element of, this is much that there is a family that Michelle had, that, in spite of everything that she was doing, in spite of her career and everything, in addition to her career, there was this family that she had, and that Pell serves that purpose of bringing that human element to Michelle's story. And that's as far as I know about her. But I hope that this does extend to the next season so that we can see more, and then that the writers can introduce the child and the whole family element of Michelle.
It'd be great to see like a nice happy family scene back somewhere, or maybe on Stardust City Rag or one of the places. So continuing on, could you see yourself returning as Pell in the future if the opportunity came about?
If the opportunity came about, I would take it in an absolute heartbeat. I think that I genuinely think that what makes Picard different from a lot of the other Star Trek series is the fact that there's been such an emphasis on human connection, and it would be wonderful to return and bring that back. I would love to see Pell actually have the baby and, introduce that child to the story, and to see how Michelle can now transform her life from, being so career focused and also going through a substance abuse issue to now being integrated within a family, and to move her story along with ours. So it would be really wonderful to continue that sort of human connection, and to also show that it doesn't matter that we're all different, that I'm a Romulan and, someone else is a human. I don't, to show that like we can all still come together. And I think that is something that the Star Trek series for the longest time has had such a strong emphasis on how everyone is different.
For sure.
And yet we're all together.
I think it really channels that message, and it has done for 50 plus years now. And you might agree, but I think that message is ever so important in modern society now, where, we are all humans on this planet, and we should come together, work together, and exist. And to have a show like Star Trek, which has been around 50 years, but now in a modern setting of Picard, also delivering that same message, I think is outstanding.
I absolutely agree with you. We need that more than ever.
Especially in current times, I think, with, all the fear and everything going on in the world, it's super important.
Absolutely. I think that like right now, also because of the pandemic, there's just been so much, hatred towards the other. And it's so important to have shows like these that emphasize that it doesn't matter whether you're orange, blue, white, black, anything. What matters is that humanity needs to come together to fight for the greater cause. It's just so, so important right now more than ever.
And Star Trek Picard definitely sort of like, understands those ideologies where, it's just because they're Romulans, they don't deserve to be left by themselves to die due to an accident. The humans should step in and help because it is for the greater good. And Picard as a character emphasizes that, and we see the struggles and the battles throughout the series, and ultimately it comes together as the end. And that ending, which I won't ruin for anyone in case they haven't seen it, is fantastic because it delivers, that feeling of this accomplishment.
I know right from the get-go, when Picard said in the very first episode, he was like, when he said lives, not Romulan lives, he said lives. And I think that just resonates the message throughout the series, which is, throughout the season, which is that all lives matter. It's not, you know what I mean? Let's not be
Exactly.
so quick to distinguish. Yeah.
Just because those people are different than us does not mean their lives don't matter, which I think is an excellent message. And the fact it could deliver that in episode 1 sets itself up. The rest of the 9 episodes will be fantastic on following from that message. It's also like core Star Trek. I remember watching it at the premiere and just hearing him say that, or Sir Patrick saying that himself, was just fantastic. That is the character, and him also saying that.
Absolutely. I wish I had seen him on set. I really we weren't scheduled on the same day, but I really wish that one day I get to work with him, just knowing that he has executive produced this and that he might, he's seen me on it. It just is such a great feeling. I would love to just shake hands with him and hopefully pray to God that we could be in the same frame one day.
That would be fantastic. So speaking about being in frame, sir, you had a great scene in the show. And you kind of answered this earlier, but I was going to ask, did you get to spend much time with Michelle Hurd, who was also in the scene? Did you connect and bond with her? But you kind of answered this one already, but if you could tell us some more details, that would be great.
Absolutely. Michelle and I, she was in her own trailer, I was in my own trailer, but we did get to meet before the scene for lunch, and she just had so much knowledge of the industry. And she's not just a phenomenal actress, but she's also such a warm human being. And she had just such pearls of wisdom to tell me, in terms of how to conduct yourself on set if you ever need anything. Because I had a huge pregnant belly. It was very hard for me to sit. I was sweating a lot, and I had all this makeup on, and they kept having to retouch it because it was melting because it was hot in LA. So Michelle was just, and every time I needed anything, she's a series regular on the show, and she would just go and get the water. She would just make sure I'm sitting, that if I need anything, that, people were attending to me. She was just so kind. And also to do all of that and then to quickly switch into, being emotional, because that scene is, I think, one of the best scenes in the entire series, in that entire season. That is one of the most compelling, most powerful scenes. And it was just so nice to see that she was able to just switch from being Michelle, to being Ruffy so quickly. When she was in the scene, she was just, so in it, and being able to cry and, really connect with Gabriel. But at the same time, as soon as it's over, then she was just there for me. So it's really nice to see that you are a true veteran of the arts when you're able to do that on and off so quickly.
They say channeling emotion for actors and actresses is one of the most difficult things. So the fact she can do that at the flick of a switch, essentially, just shows to her acting prowess, I guess you could say, in a way, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. I think she's just so clear about who she was as Ruffy that she didn't have to take any time to slip into it. It's she could just go into it. And also, I think Jonathan Frakes created such a great environment for her to feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable. And I loved that it was that even though it was such an elaborate set, that everyone was so, mindful of the fact that this is an emotional scene and we need to give the actor their space and luxury to, do what they need to do. So, and he also was really great. Jonathan Frakes was also really great because in the beginning of before we did the scene, we rehearsed it and we, tried different things like improvisations. And he really just he just sits down with his actors. Since he's an actor himself, he understands actors. He just sits down with the actors. He gives them, the time and luxury to play around. And then once we've locked in something, that's when he, prepares the set to roll. So it was really it's one of those sets that I think it's a dream for any actor to be on a set like that. Generally, it's all very rushed and you just have to get into it. And the camera sound is right here and hair and makeup is in your face and then you have to just jump into it. But I think this was one of those sets where they just understood that. actors.
It sounds fantastic. It's kind of similar to what we've heard before from other actors on the show and actresses as well. And Star Trek just radiates like good energy for being and working on a production, similar to what we spoke about earlier. And it's just so great to hear about that, because sometimes you hear about bad experiences, but the Star Trek family and the crew, the cast, and all the people behind it, it's just so tightly wound, and even welcoming new people in. Because I think you might be able to agree here, but being a new actress into a big production like Star Trek, it can be very, I guess, daunting might be a word to put it.
I think I think I'm just so new to all of this, to be honest, that I constantly want to come from a place of humility and also wanting to learn as much as I can and just absorb everything. Like when you're in a set, like on a set, when you are on a set like that, all you want to do is just take everything in, because it's so much, from the moment you sign the contract to the moment you are in hair and makeup, and then in your trailer, and then on set, and then being directed by someone so legendary, and then working with actors who are, so good at what they do. It's all just so much to take in, but that's why you just have to like take a step back and absorb everything and just remember like how I have to just keep reminding myself how great I am, because I used to complain so much about, because you go to, as actors in LA, you go to so many auditions. The very first booking I ever had, that scene never even made it to network television. It was edited out. So I was so disappointed and discouraged about that. And little did I know that a couple of months later, my life was going to change with this role. And so you just never know, God always has like bigger plans for you than you do for yourself. So this experience was constantly a reminder for me to just, know that there are good things that are coming.
That is honest, fantastic. I guess rounding up on this one, and speaking about experiences and moments, do you perhaps have, or you might be able to tell me, your best thing or your favorite moment of being on Star Trek Picard? Like, is there one thing in particular that stood out? Maybe something we've spoken about today or something else?
One thing that really stood out to me was, once my scene was done, okay, all right, I'm going to take it back. When I was doing my scene, Jonathan Frakes came up to me and he said that, it really wasn't about the words. And he was like, there's this expression of the moment she sees Ruffy, her smile fades away because she kind of knows that this is Gabriel's mother. And she knows that Gabriel, has had this tense relationship with her. So he was like, the entire scene is said in that one expression. So he was like, so he told me the direction that he gave me was, that was from everything that I'm doing, that was the most important thing. And the fact that he even came up to me and said that to me, and like that just made me feel like what I was there to do was so relevant and important to the story, that he felt the need to come up to me and tell me that not to lose that, because he kept seeing that in different takes. And finally, when the camera was on me, for some reason I wasn't doing that. So he came up to me and he told me that. And I just won't forget that as an actor who's starting out, in my career, to get that sort of validation, to get like such a huge, such a veteran of the arts to come and tell me that. It just made me feel that, okay, I'm here to do something important. And every little bit that you do on a show is important. It's moving the story along. And if all those small parts didn't come together, there wouldn't be a bigger story. So that was my favorite part.
That is a fantastic way of putting it. I now see what you mean about the expression as well. I was remembering back the scene, and I'll edit in some pictures so fans at home can also see what you mean as well. That expression alone definitely sets the tone for that scene and amplifies it even more, because your scene was short but sweet at the same time. But like you said, that expression amplifies what we're dealing with at the time, which is, Gabriel meeting his mother, who he may have not seen in 10 years, etc. I think we do know the time thing roughly, but I guess it's like 10 years, a long time to put it lightly.
Yeah. And I think somewhere in like, somewhere from the way I created Pell was just that somewhere in her heart, she does want Gabriel and Ruffy to reconcile, because she knows how much her husband hurts. And the way I had, written my backstory, not that I wasn't given much information, but this is what I had come up with, is just that Pell sees how much Gabriel is hurting, and some part of him does want to reconcile with his mother, as any child would want to, start fresh. And also because he would want his granddaughter to have a wonderful relationship with with her grandmother. So I think that like it was important for me to still convey the sweetness, but also know that yes, this is a tense situation.
That's great. I love that. And I'm going to have to go watch this episode again later just to see that again, which would be fantastic. So I guess to finish this off this interview, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. But one last question. As you're now a part of the Star Trek family, welcome in case anyone hasn't said it yet, how can Trekkies keep up to date with yourself and what comes for new projects? I know we're in a bit of a standstill at the minute, but is there any social media Trekkies can follow on you that I can put you on screen now?
Yes, I'm actually on Instagram at Ayushi Chhabra official, and I also have an IMDb page as Ayushi Chhabra. And I actually want to say that since the Star Trek episode came out, my IMDb jumped from I was in like the 200,000s to 5,000, and this is all because of the Star Trek community. So I just want to give a big shout out to you guys, and I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You don't know what you're doing for my career, and I really, really appreciate it. And what else is coming? Oh, okay. I did a Bollywood feature film last year, at the end of last year, and that's supposed to release at the end of the year. So hopefully if things do go back to normal, we'll be able to see it in theaters, or we'll just see it on our computer.
One way or another, I'm sure hopefully get to see it. I'll leave those links down below so viewers at home can hopefully check your pages out, follow you and keep up to date. You're now officially a part of the Star Trek family, and hopefully we might see you back in Star Trek Picard soon.
I hope so too. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thanks for watching this video. If you want to keep up to date with the latest Star Trek news, lore and more, then make sure to hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us via our social media accounts to keep up to date with the daily news. For now, I've been Captain Jack, thanks for watching and we'll see you next time.